Good morning. And today's class we are going to be starting with the pointing and the what are the different types of the pointing and what are the materials that we are going to be using the pointing and what are the objectives of the pointing. So before pointing, just at a glance we will go for the plastering. Some of the slides I added from when compared to the yesterday's class. Compared to the yesterday's class, just we will go through in a fast at a glance for the plastering. Then we will come to the pointing because the pointing chapter will be very simple. And once again we will go for the plastering, then we are going to come to the pointing itself. So in the plastering already we discussed the last class. Only thing is whatever we, so the left is that here we can able to see that what are the tools that we are going to be using for the plastering. Yesterday it is in a blur the slide. We are having the what are the tools that we are going to be using for the plastering. Now we can able to see that clearly visible: bull nosed trowel, pointed nosed trowel, floated trowel. This is the floating purpose. We are going to be making the surface to the smooth and as well as the leveled one. Plumb bob, we can able to see that what is the how the surface will be there, and leveling of the vertical and horizontal. And trapezoidal float also the same thing. Spirit level, we can able to see that whether the surface is going to be leveled. We done plastering in according to that the horizontal and vertical directions properly. Float rule, so we are going to be spreading that the mortar, cement mortar or the any lime mortar that we are going to be using. So these are the tools that we are going to be preferably we are going to be using for the plastering. Then next, this is already yesterday's slide. I shown that what are the different tools, but instead of that one, almost the same thing we covered, but it is somewhat is going to be clear. And one more thing is what are the defects in plastering that we not discussed in yesterday's class. So the defects in plastering is blistering of the plastered surface, cracking. When the blistering is going to be coming, when the cracking is going to be coming, and the what is the efflorescence, flaking, peeling, and popping. These are the various defects we are not going to be done properly with the plastering or with the what are the mortar we are going to be using for the plastering purpose. So what is the blistering? Means it is going to be coming out. Blistering means it is going to be like it is after the drying it is going to be coming out. There is not sticking properly to the brick masonry or the stone masonry work. This is the formation of of the small patches of plaster swelling out beyond the plastered surface. It is going to be coming out, arising out of late slaking of lime particles in the plaster, or it is going to be called as your mortar, cement mortar is not going to be the perfectly prepared. Already we given that the mortar is going to be used for 1:3 to 1:6. If it is going to be missing, then automatically the plastered surface is going to be coming out. Then the cracking. It is the formation of the cracks in the plaster work done the following. What are the reasons is structural defects in the building. Is not because of the plastering. What are the structural defects will be there? If you have not done the masonry properly, that or you are not done the formwork properly for the structural elements, that is known as the structural defects. Movements in the background due to its thermal expansion or rapid drying. Expansion and contraction of the surfaces also is going to be giving that the cracking. Movements in the plaster surface itself, either due to the expansion or the shrinkage. Shrinkage of the plaster also is going to be giving as the cracking. This we not discussed. And efflorescence means the white patches is going to be developed because of the excess salts present in the water, or whether excess salts is going to be present in the ingredients. That is going to be called as efflorescence. It is the whitish crystalline substance which appears on the surface due to the presence of salts in plaster making materials. It affects the adhesion of the paint with all the surface. Efflorescence can be removed to some extent by dry brushing and washing the surface repeatedly. If any white patches, we can able to see visibility will be there white patches because of the excess lime we are going to be using. Excess lime is one of the reason to go for the efflorescence, or otherwise we are having that the water will be having that is the sea water or other water we are going to be more in acidic nature or alkaline nature, then it is going to be is going to be giving as the efflorescence. Flaking, it is the formation of very loose mass of plastered surface due to poor bond between successive coats. So flaking is the bond is not properly done. The brick masonry or stone masonry, various bonds we are having, the poor bond is going to be giving as flaking. Then the peeling. Peeling means it is going to be coming out. I like the whatever we discussed. The first point is going to be called as the blistering. Blistering is larger surfaces. It is going to be exposed surfaces is going to be coming out, and peeling either the both internal and as well external. It is the complete dislocation of some portion of the plastered surface, resulting in the formation of a patch. This is also results from the imperfect bond. Peeling already, just we have a very good example is that one. We are take the fruits. If we take the orange, we take the banana, we'll take peel it up. Means the outer surface is going to be had to be remove it. Then only we can able to take that the fruit. We'll consume that the fruit itself. So that is one example we can able to see that one. Like that, the surfaces is going to be coming out if you not done properly the mixing of the ingredients, as well as we are not done properly that you are not done the surfacing properly, you are not done plastering properly, you are not done curing properly, then it is going to be peeling up. Then the popping, it is the formation of a conical hole in the plastered surface due to presence of some particles with expand and setting. After setting, that is expansion is going to be taking place. So that is the, so what are the components that will be having in the cement? Excess lime and excess silica, that is going to be giving us that it is going to be called as expansion of the structural members, or expansion of the concrete members is going to be taking place. So the, so that is we are going to call a soundness of the cement. Already we discussed in the class various tests that we are going to be conducted for the cement. In soundness of the cement, that is one of the reason we are going to be using that excess lime and excess silica, excess alumina will causing that expansion in the members, finally that will be leading to the cracking. So these are the defects that is going to occur while you are not done the properly the plastering itself. And this already we discussed, these are all we discussed yesterday's class. This is only the some of the leftover parts. And the types of the plasters, lime plaster will be there. And then we are going to be using that the cement plaster, Portland cement. We are going to be using gypsum plaster or the plaster of Paris, because actually I forgot in yesterday I had to be give that the other name is that for the gypsum plaster is the plaster of Paris. Plaster of Paris is almost all we are going to be using 70 to 80% nowadays for the decorative purposes or architectural importance. So that we are going to call a gypsum plaster or the plaster of Paris. Then how we are going to be preparing for the plastering work, already we discussed yesterday class. Preparation of the surface for the plastering, groundwork for the plaster, applying under the undercoat or the base coat, applying finishing coat, curing, plastering works. Finally, we are going to be done the curing. So what is the objective? Why we are going for the curing? That is the most important one. Whatever may be the plaster we are going to be using, objectives of the plastering is that to conceal the defective workmanship, because this we are going to be comparing with the pointing. While you are going for explaining the pointing, so one should understand that what is the objectives of the plastering. To conceal the defective workmanship, to give smooth surface to avoid catching of the dust we are going to be avoiding. If you are not done the plastering work, so every place or every wall that is going to be exposed to that the atmospheric conditions, then it is going to be absorbing dust, water, whatever moisture, all that is going to be there. So if we are not done the plastering, to give good look, that is the appearance, to protect the wall from rainwater, already told the rainwater or moisture and other atmospheric agencies, that is the moisture, and to protect surfaces against vermin. That is the, so the whatever the white ants or the vermin that is not going to be affecting that your masonry work itself, or the structural members, or the viruses that is going to be developed into the concrete itself. So there is the bacterial concrete also nowadays, it is going to be advancement in there. Even though if the bacteria is going to be developed, that we can able to remove it and we can done the concreting. This is about the objectives of the plastering. Now we can go for that directly to that what is the pointing. This I want to explain you in the plastering work, whatever we left over. So the what is the pointing? Pointing is that we have either this is going to be provided or we are going to be used for the the joints we are going to be filling up. Mortar joints. So mortar joints is going to be there in case of brick masonry and as well as stone masonry. How we are going to be laying that the brick and how we are going to be laying that the stone. Either brick masonry or the stone masonry is going to be laying depending upon the bond. What bond we are going to be doing? Structure bond, or it is going to be called as even bonds. In structure bond, and then lengthwise we are going to be keeping the bricks, and other bonds we are going to be widthwise. So because length and width, either you are going for stone masonry or you are going for the brick masonry, so the brick or the stone is going to be laid and we are going to filling up of the mortar joints, so that we are going to be called as a pointing. All because we cannot go for the 1 meter or 2 meters directly the as masonry work, either stone masonry or brick masonry. That much length of brick and that much length of stone is not going to be available. Almost all the standard sizes of the bricks and stones are available. And after one length of the brick, you have to go for another length of the brick, and in between we are be provided the joint. So that joint we are going to provide with that the mortar we are going to be called as a pointing. Almost all we know that joints are the weakest parts or the weakest planes that is going to be giving you as the cracking or the failure is going to be occur. So that's why we have to be carefully maintain that the joint and filling up of the joint with the appropriate mortar we are going to be called as a pointing. Almost all we are going to be doing that the cement mortar itself. Pointing is the implementing of the joints to a depth of 10 mm to 20 mm and filling it with better quality of the mortar is desired shape. It is done for cement mortar and lime mortar joints, and it in exposed masonry, joints are considered to be the weakest and most vulnerable spots from which rainwater or dampness to enter. If joints are not done properly, or you are not done appropriate, you are not done filling the, you are not filling the mortar appropriately, then every chances will be there. Your rainwater will be entering into that the joints itself. Then automatically it is going to be creating that the failure, or it is going to be creating the cracks inside that one. Because they absorb more water and the load handling capacity is going to be reduces, then it is going to be giving that the some types of the failure we are able to see in that the masonry work itself. So that's why so joints are going to be provided and pointing is necessary. Instead of plastering the entire surface of the masonry, special mortar finishing work is done to the exposed joint, that is called as a pointing. Very simple definition is that one, filling up of the joints either in the stone masonry or brick masonry with appropriate mortar, or we say that the cement mortar is going to be called as a pointing. So then we have to be decided how much thickness we are going to be provided, how much length we are going to be provided. Thickness or the depth is more important to fill that there is no open spaces we are going to be leaving. Almost all the so the joints are going to be filled with the appropriate mortar. Pointing is ideally suited for stone masonry because stones are having attractive colors and good resistance to the penetration by water. Pointing gives perfection to the weaker part of the masonry, that is to the joints. Pointing is always we are going to filling up of the joints, and it adds to that the aesthetic view of the masonry also. Now, in the other side, it is going to be giving that the appearance of your masonry. How the looking good looking appearance we are able to achieve it, that is going to be depending upon how we are done the pointing work. So if you are done properly the pointing work, there is no necessary to go for the plastering work also. In some nowadays, some of the exterior elevations almost are we are going to be doing with the pointing work. Only interior only we will go for the plastering work, and exterior almost all the front side elevation we are going to be keeping as it is. We are not going for the plastering work. So we are going to be continuing with the pointing if you are done properly. Then what are the differences? We are understanding the concept of the plastering and we are understanding the concept of the pointing. So in what way it is going to be, and what are the objectives will be there in the plastering and pointing? First one is it is applied to the entire surface. Plastering we are going to be done. There is no space is going to be leaving behind. We are going for lengthwise and widthwise direction. We are going to be completing that the plastering work. It is provided only at exposed joints. Pointing is limited or restricted only for the joints, not like entire surface. Entire surface is not required in the pointing. Entire surface is going to be covered either the brick or the stone. Wherever that the joining parts will be there and the joining depth only we are going to be provided the pointing. It provides a smooth surface. It does not provide smooth surface because as it is masonry will be there. Our duty or our aim is that one to fill the joints itself. But in the case of plastering, we are going to be entire surface is going to be done with the smoothness of the surface we are going to be achieving after the plastering work is going to be completed. It conceals the defective workmanship in the masonry construction. Already we discussed this one, workmanship, bad workmanship or defective workmanship. We almost all we cannot able to see that one. We can able to conceal it by the using the plastering. Means sometimes we will go for the electrification. This is also yesterday we discussed about that one. Electrification, we are going to be digging a hole, and after that electrician work is going to be, so the work is going to be completed. Then we are going to be concealing that with the masonry with the plastering itself. So that is there in the case of the defective workmanship. We cannot able to see that one, but we will be covering with the plastering. It is used to expose beauty of well-built masonry work. So here we can able to see the beautiness of the brick masonry and stone masonry. We cannot see that in the plastering because we are entirely covering with the plastering. Here every chance will be there. We have to see that what type of brick masonry we can use it and what type of stone masonry we are going to be. Various types of the stone masonry and various types of the brick masonry are there. we can able to see that one, and also we can able to get architectural beauty. It provides a base for applying white or color washing, that is the painting. For the painting, prerequisite is that plastering. If you done plastering well or done according to that the requirement, then we'll go easy for the whitewashing or the color washing, or that is the painting, we can able to do it. Here whitewashing or color washing are ruled out. That is not required, because we are going for, we are restricting the architectural beauty of the masonry work. That's why we don't need for the whitewashing or the color washing. So that is the various points of difference are there, so distinguished between the comparison between the plastering and pointing. How we do the plastering and how we do the pointing, what are the objectives will be there in the plastering and what are the objectives will be there in the pointing. Still some more points are there, but this is essential or more important points that will be giving you as the differences between plastering and pointing. Then next is the one of the pictures that is going to be showing that how the plastering, how the pointing is going to be done. We can able to see that these are all the joints. So that is how we are going to, brick is going to be laid. Whether you are going to provide the structure bar or we are going to provide the header bar, lengthwise or the widthwise. So then this is, we can able to see the lengthwise, this is we are going to see the widthwise. Then immediately the joint is going to be provided. This joint we are going to be provided with the so mortar, cement mortar, we are going to be filling up all the joints and we are going to be completing that the pointing work. Nowhere we are going to be leaving that the joints, but if you are leaving the joints, that is going to be called the weakest part in that masonry work. Every chances will be there for cracking, because load is going to be taking care of that one. Then the what are the mortars that we are going to be using for the pointing work? Lime mortar of 1:2 ratio, cement mortar of 1:3 ratio. So for the pointing work, this is in objective question, they are going to be asking about that one. So 1 unit of the lime and 2 units of the sand and the water, appropriate water we are going to be using. Similarly, so our cement mortar, 1 unit of the cement and 3 units of the sand we are going to be using. Then we are going to be adding with the water and we are going to be preparing the mortar, and we are going to be filling up of the joints, and we are going to be completing the pointing work itself. Lime mortar or cement mortar, maximum cases we are going for the cement mortar. Lime mortar almost is going to be outdated one. In olden days we are going to be using, now almost we are going to be using with the cement mortar. Now preparation, all the joints in masonry are raked down to a depth of 20 mm. So the what is the depth of the joints will be there 20 mm, and with that the 20 mm we are going to be filling up with the cement mortar, and we are going to be cleaned and thoroughly wetted. So that is the second and third part. We are going to be cleaned and then we are to be wetted, or the curing has to be done such that your complete pointing is going to be over, or we are going to be complete. Yeah, and then there is no cracking is going to be gives you on the masonry work. Then what are the different types of the pointing? This is the last topic on that one. You understand that the pointing and what are the different types of the pointing, so that we are going to be using for the masonry works, and where we can use and what are the objectives of each pointing. This is completely depending upon how we are going to be filling up of the cement mortar. Based on that one, we are going to be, the pointing is going to be classified. One is flush pointing, recessed pointing, beaded pointing, stuck pointing, rubbed keyed or grooved pointing, tuck pointing, V pointing, and weather pointing. Almost all we are having that. We are going to be inserting that the cement mortar, in which direction, how the mortar is going to be inserted, how much depth we are going to be inserting that the cement mortar, and what is the shape is going to be formed in between the joints. Based on that one, your pointing is going to be classified. First, we will go for the flush pointing. The term itself is going to be giving as meaning flush. We are going to be inserting into that the older mortar joints, and yesterday we are going to be completed. Next day we are going to be continuing with that. The cement mortar is going to be filled, and we are going to be completing the joint itself is going to be called flush pointing. So what is the flush pointing? In this type, mortar is pressed hard in the racket joint. Means racket joint means we are going to be ready for the joint between the lengthwise or the widthwise direction. Racking means we are going to be provided the space to fill that the cement mortar. And by finishing off flush with the edge of the masonry units, from we are going to be starting from the one end to the other end, completely we are going to be filling with the cement mortar, and we are going to be inserting the mortar in the lengthwise direction, and so the edges are neatly trimmed with the trowel and straight edge. So we are going to be starting from the edge. That's why edges are, we are going to be trimmed with the trowel and straight edge. And we have to see that the how we are going to be inserting the cement mortar into the joints itself. It does not give good appearance, but flush pointing is more durable because of resisting the provision of space for dust. We are going to avoiding dust, water, etc. Due to this reason, this method is extensively used. Yes, we will go through that the diagram. We can able to understand that one. Flush means inserting. First, we have to be starting from one end, and we are going to be so completing to that the previous already done for the pointing work. Old motor to that the new motor we are going to be completing, and from one end, and that is going to be with the edges. Always we are going to be edges is going to be leveled, and from there we are going to be starting up of the filling up of the motor, and we are going to be completing the pointing. That is known as the flush pointing. So this we can able to see that this is the diagram. From here we are going to start it. This is the one of the edge. This is the line is going to be giving. This already is going to be shown in the thick one is going to be giving us this mortar is going to be showing that the cement and sand is going to be showing that the dimension, or we are going to be called as the picture is going to be the old one because already done. Then we are going to be continuing with the other side is going to be called as the flush pointing. So with that the edges perfectly leveled, and from there we are going to be filling up of complete the cement mortar, we are going to be called as flush pointing, or we are going to be inserting the cement mortar, and we are going to be completing to that once again to that the edges itself. So this is the old mortar joint, and this is the new mortar joint. In this direction is the new mortar joint, and whatever the convention symbol is going to be showing that the cement and the sand is going to be called as old. The older one with respect to the newer one, both together we are going to be completing that the jointing for the entire brick masonry work. So that is we are going to be called as flush pointing. Then recessed pointing. So this is already surely that the conventional symbol showing that the cement and sand is going to be called the older one. This is the newer one. Here what will be happen that we are going to be leaving some space from the edge, and then afterwards we are going to be solved. That's why we are recessed. We are going to recess gap we are going to be provided, and we are going to be filling to up to that the end, not with the edges. Once again you can able to see that one, it is going to be extending to the old work also. Earlier case in the flush pointing, completely starting from the edge to the end from the edge. So the corners up to the corner or the edges we are going to filling the cement mortar in the previous case of the flush pointing. But here in the recessed pointing, what we are going to be doing is some space we are going to be leaving. Then we are going to be starting the cement mortar, filling up of the cement mortar in the joint, and we are going to be extending up to that where the old the cement mortar we are going to be filled. Our old joint will be there. Up to that we are going to be filling. We are extending to that beyond the edges. One side after the edge and the other side beyond the edges, we are going to filling the cement mortar. That is known as the recessed pointing. In this case, mortar is pressing back by 5 mm. The gap is we are going to be using one side, one edge is going to be 5 mm or more from the edges. During placing of the mortar, the face of the pointing kept vertical. Means always we have to see that vertical face we are going to be checking with the plumb bob by a suitable tool. That is the plumb bob we are already checking, and this type of gives very good appearance. Means we are going to be leaving some space, so then architectural point of view it is going to be looking very good. Instead of we are going to be starting from the edge itself. So that is for the the aesthetical appearance or the architectural appearance they are going to be done, that the pointing work is known as the recessed pointing away from the edges. You are done the mortar. Next is beaded pointing. What is the beaded pointing? Here we can able to see that this is the complete joint you are going to be provided for the masonry work. It is formed by steel or iron with a concave edge. Here earlier in the case of the this one the pointing, we done some space we are going to be given after the flush pointing from the edges we started, and the next pointing we are done with the some space we are going to be given. This is a pointing, we leave a space. Now in the beaded pointing, what we are going to be doing, either the iron wire or the steel we are going to made into a concave shape or the concave edge. Then we start that the filling up of the mortar. So this is also while you are looking through that the front view, that is the elevation, it is going to be very good appearance. Very good appearance we can able to see that one. Very good appearance we can able to see that one, because one form of your architectural beauty we can able to get, because one shape, different shape we are going to be created. That is the concave shape we are going to be created. From there the filling up of the joint is going to be taken place. That is we are going to be called as beaded pointing. Beaded pointing is that steel or iron with a concave edge we are made with the steel rod. With the steel rod or the iron rod we are bent, and from there we had to be start that the filling up of the cement mortar has to be completed. So then it is going to give as the pointing is not the beaded pointing. It gives good appearance, obviously, but it will damage easily when compared to other types, because it is exposed one. So then is not the very straight edge we are going to be provided. If a straight edge we are going to be provided, automatically it will be having some strength and hard and durable. But we make a bend, every chances will be there, weak spots are more, then we can able to damage very easily of the exposed surfaces. That is known as the beaded pointing. Next, struck pointing. Struck pointing. In the struck pointing, what we are doing, this is the old motor joint and this is the new motor joint. See here what we are going, inclination we are going to make it. So we are going for the, please put a mute. Please be silent and just you go through the slides and just you listen. So this is a modification of plus pointing in which the face of the pointing is kept inclined. We can able to see that inclination we are going to be, and also with its upper edge pressed inside the face by 10 mm, which drains water easily. We are going to be keeping here also, there's some space we are going to be leaving behind. Once you are going for the inclination, always, so the other vertical part is going to be having that the gap will be there. If we are going perfectly vertical, then it is going to be no space is going to be leaving behind. So we are going to be starting from the edge itself, while you are in the case of flush pointing and as well as the recessive pointing starting from the edge. So by in the struck pointing, what we are doing is some angle we are going to making. So to get that the motor is going to be filled in the joint, that is known as the struck pointing. Modification of the flush pointing. Flush pointing, there we are start with the edges and vertical face, but here we are doing edge with the inclined face. That is only the difference when we are going to comparing with the flush pointing and struck pointing, in which the face of the pointing is kept inclined with its upper edge pressed inside the face by 10 mm, which is what is struck pointing. Then next one is the rubbed, keyed or grooved pointing. Grooves we are going to make. This is old motor and this is the new motor joint we are going to be provided. This is also a modification of the flush pointing in which groove is formed and its mid height. And its mid height by a pointing tool, it goes good. This is the, we can able to see that one. We can able to make a shape. Earlier we make a shape with the iron or the steel. In the case of the this other pointing, the beaded pointing. In the beaded pointing, we can make the iron or the steel to one shape and we start the pointing. But here in the groove pointing, we are make a groove, and then later onwards we are going to starting with your the filling up of the mortar. That joint we are going to be called as groove or keyed or the rubber joint or rubber pointing itself. So this is also is going to be for the appearance purposes. Whatever we are going to be different type of the pointing work, our main objective is that one, the joint has to be filled by the cement mortar, and it not give any water or the moisture or the dust is going to be entering inside into the masonry itself. That is the main objective we are going for the pointing, because all the joints are weakest parts. So to avoid that one, we are going to provide the the pointing work and filling the joint. For that, various shapes we are going to be creating, that each shape will be giving as one type of the pointing. Each shape will create a one type of the pointing work. So this is about the groove pointing. So then the next one is going to be called as tuck pointing. So tuck pointing is that we are going to be keeping at the edge one corner, we are going to be make a square, and from there we have to be start that the pointing work is going to go as the tuck pointing. So the tuck pointing is that, so for the old and the previous old work and new mortar joint is going to be filled properly. In this case, mortar is present in the racket joint first and finishing the flush with the face, while the present mortar is green or the groove or narrow channel is cut in the center of the groove, which is having 5 mm width and 3 mm depth. Just we directly go to the figure. This is known as 5 mm by 3 mm. This is the groove we are going to be prepared, and later onwards we had to be go for the filling up of the mortar. That is known as the tuck pointing. Tuck pointing, what we are going to be doing is, earlier cases we are starting from the edge. One case in flush pointing. In recessive pointing, we will leave the space, and in the groove pointing, we make a groove. Another in the tuck pointing, what we have make a rectangular or the square by rectangular opening we are going to be provided, and then afterwards we are going to be starting with the filling up of the mortar. That is known as the how much how much the depth and the how much width and length we are going to leave is 5 mm by 3 mm. And then we are not going to be doing, or we are not going to be filling with the mortar. From the next onwards, we are going to be after beyond that the groove, we are going for the filling up of the mortar. So that is we are going to be called as the tuck pointing. So the tuck pointing is going to be gives you that. So the architectural beauty once again. So we make a groove, or we make a provision for the 5 mm by 3 mm. Then after beyond that point, we can go for the filling up of the mortar. Next is V pointing. Directly we can able to see that V shaped. This is the old mortar, and this is the new mortar joint we are going to be provided. Then V shaped we are going to be provided. So pointing has going to be done V shaped one. This is formed by grooving V groove. Directly V-shaped groove, we are going to made it at the edges. Then so after that point, we are going to be filling up of the mortar. That is going to be called as V pointing. So V pointing in the shape of V. V-shaped groove we are going to be provided for that the masonry work, and we are going filling up of the joint. And the next, the last one is going for the weathered pointing. Earlier we saw that the V is beyond to that the joint. Now V is external, outside. V groove we are going making to the outside. It is projecting beyond your masonry. Previous all the cases, it is going to be after the corner or after the edge, we are going to be done the mortaring, or you are done the mortar and filling up of the mortar. But here we can able to see that, so it is going to be projected from the surface, projected from the masonry work. V-shaped groove we are going to be done. So then the mortar is going to be filled up, the joint is going to be filled up with the cement mortar. That is we are going to call it weathered pointing. This is made by making a projection in the form of V shape to the external. Earlier almost all we are done for internally, but this is we are going to be done for externally, and we are going to be doing that the pointing work and filling up of the mortar in the joint itself. So this is about that the V shaped pointing.